Welcome to the Level Up Your Band podcast, episode 23. Hello and welcome back to the Level Up Your Band podcast. My name is Gavin Patterson and I'm here with Julian Pombo.
Hey!
Sup? What's up with you?
I don't know, man. What's up with you? Nothing. There's nothing going on. Things are the same.
Things are the same.
I wish there was new things. The only new thing that's happening is, well, we can go see people now as of recording.
Yeah.
Or I can anyway.
Yep.
So that's cool. I can actually socially interact with other people.
Yep.
So that's fun. And yeah, and I'm waiting on a new game which is coming on Friday. So that's
what are you getting?
Ghost of Tsushima.
Oh yes.
I've spoken about it for ages. It's like I'm a bit of a weeb. I love Japan and all of that good stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's like set in 13th century Japan when the Mongols are invading, and it's all fun.
I've seen the trailers for it.
It looks pretty. It looks interesting. I'm looking forward to it. I'm just worried I've overhyped it, but which I tend to do. But apart from that, yeah, nothing exciting. How about you?
No, just getting the studio prepared for opening back up again. Planning to sort of open up gradually. Currently, as of yesterday, the studio is officially open. So taking bookings from now, but it's going to be different from what it used to be. So it'll be like socially distanced recordings, with masks and hand sanitizer and yeah. I don't know.
Hazmat suits.
Yeah, it's
round.
going to be interesting.
Hazmat core. That's going to be a new genre.
Aye, it'll be a learning curve, but I think it should be okay. But yeah, just
by the way,
getting things cleaned up.
I apologise if you can hear the cats in the background. They've just been fed, and one of them has started this new thing where as soon as she's finished eating, she'll just go around the house yowling like wah, wah. And it's like, okay, cool. I'm glad you enjoyed your food that much.
Yep.
So if you hear that in the background, don't worry. I don't have a goblin in my house.
Yep.
I technically do, but not a real life one.
All right.
Cool.
What's the topic about today? What are we talking about today?
So, for once I had an idea. No, I'm joking. So in the past we covered very broadly just performing in general, but we touched on loads of topics, things like band aesthetic and how you should dress and merch and playing live, and we just touched on loads of little teeny tiny things. But so we thought we'd go back to that episode and just focus on one particular aspect of that. So today we're going to be talking about setting up before a gig. Okay, so the thing is, when you start gigging, there's loads of little, just in music in general, there's loads of little unspoken rules and customs that no one tells you about, and people just sort of expect you to know. And it's little things like, it sounds dumb saying it, but etiquette during a sound check.
Yeah.
How does a sound check work? What time should you be loading in? What equipment do you need to bring, or what do you need? And, little more existential questions like, why is this sound guy always a bona fide jerk? Just things like that. So we're going to break it all down bit by bit, and we're just going to talk about it. So I thought we'd start with Gavin's favourite topic.
Yeah.
Loading in.
Yeah. I love loading in. The reason I'm being sarcastic. The reason why I have such a thing with load, right? Everyone who knows me, who gigs with me or is in a band with me, no, this is like a running joke that I obsess over loading, because I usually have the most complicated setup of anyone, because I usually bring PA, drums, just all the rubbish. Just
not even just a simple drum kit, like a 20-piece drum. Yeah. It's not 20-piece.
I'm an idiot, but I don't care. Come at me. I should be going out with a 5-piece kit or a 4-piece kit like a normal person, but no, I have a 7-piece kit because I don't know. Reasons. I like it. Reasons, right? I take a 7-piece kit to a wedding.
Yeah, he uses it all. To be fair, to be fair to him, it's not just for show.
I enjoy it. Sue me.
Yeah.
Right. So. Like, yeah, I actually take a 7-piece kit to a big band gig. Like, once every couple of months. Yeah, requested by the big band leader. He said, how many toms have you got? And I was like, well, because I used to bring my 5-piece, so it has 3 toms. Sometimes I would bring 2 toms. He's like, how many toms does that kit have? I was like, oh, I've got 5, but I only bring 3. Why? I was like, well, don't really need a full, like, that size of kit for this type of gig. He's like, oh, bring it. Just bring it. Like, go nuts. Like, bring everything you've got, all your wood blocks, tambourines, everything. I want it to look ridiculous. And I was like, okay. So, fair enough. That's what I do. But the reason why I obsess over load-ins is because it's such a nightmare if you've got a big transit van like I do, all the gear, and I like to know in advance what I'm getting myself into. Like, when I turn up at the venue, is there a nice big car park where you can just calmly park your car, just load in, nice and easy loading bit, straight onto the stage? Or is it going to be a one-way street bus lane where you're not allowed to park or stop, and there's police everywhere and traffic wardens and taxis and buses? It's a horrible load-in. Like, you go to the door and it's locked, and then you have to phone the promoter to come down and unlock the door, and then you need to get this special key, and then you need to go up a flight of stairs, and then you go back down and the door's locked again, and your car's being lifted by the police. Yeah. I've done all of that.
And then you need to answer 3 riddles. And
yeah, that it just stresses me out even talking about it. Like,
I can tell.
Like, I have had dreams about loading in.
Yes, you have. Nightmares,
genuinely. Like, I'm loading in and the gig's already started and I'm still loading in, and I'm just like, the whole dream is just loading in and I never get to the gig. That's my nightmare. I'm a strange guy.
Anyway, so loading in. So yeah, there's a lot of things to think about. So just be aware of it. Ask the venue about what time they sort of expect you to load in. I think this is just me, but I like to be in places 15 minutes earlier than people tell me to be. So if somebody says 4:30 load in, I'd like to be there at 4:15, just to be on the safe side, because that 15 minutes is a really good sort of nice sweet spot of time where if anything goes wrong, you can sort it out.
Yeah.
So that was one of the thoughts, and yeah, just other things that you were talking about there. Parking. How easy is it to get to, and things like that. And in fact, I think you'll find that depending on what the venue is like, that'll make a big impact on actually whether you choose to go to that venue.
Oh yeah.
And play it. It will make a huge impact. Like,
what's your worst load-in story?
Worst load-in. Worst load-in story. Let me see. I had to load in. I remember having a bad time in Edinburgh, but I don't remember what it was. But I don't think anybody has a good time loading
funny.
in anywhere in Edinburgh.
It's funny because my worst load in was in Edinburgh as well. It's funny that.
Yeah, that was the first thing that sort of came up, that came to mind. But there was another one. The Blue Arrow can be a bit tricky. Generally, the Glasgow ones are okay.
Yep.
And then there was there's Elgin.
Yeah.
Do you remember Elgin?
Yeah, that was all right. It was just more of a one-way system. Like once we found the venue,
it was a
one-way
one-way system.
But I hate one-way systems so much because you're like, oh, the venue's there, missed it, and then you have to go around the whole town to get back to it.
Again, yeah.
No,
and then there was
the worst is definitely Edinburgh.
There was Sky as well, but I remember vividly. I did a gig. It might have been like a fringe gig or something. And there's a reason that I can't remember what it is. It must have been that traumatic that I've sort of like just bleached it out of my brain. So yeah, usually the thing with bad load-ins, avoid anywhere that has a lot of stairs.
Yep. There's some notorious ones in Glasgow.
Narrow stairs.
Like I think the first one that springs to mind is Central Hotel, Glasgow Central.
I've never played there.
Yeah, I was supposed to be playing there this month or last month or something, but it's obviously all the gigs are cancelled. So I was kind of glad about that. The worst one I've ever had was in Edinburgh. That was with our mutual friend Chris McNamara, guitarist. You'll remember. I can't remember the name of the venue. I think it was an Edinburgh Uni campus thing, and half the street was shut off, and we had to go in the back, and we had to take the stuff off the street. This is a van, a people, and two people carriers. Well, two vans and a people carrier worth of gear, so a lot of gear, and we had to load it through a beer garden, upstairs into the venue, along a corridor, through a foyer, through another corridor, into a lift, up a lift, along another corridor, through a double door, turn right, through another long corridor, left, through a sort of stalls area, up a flight of stairs and on stage. Like the full trip from car to stage was probably about 10 minutes for one trip, in the rain, in winter.
Yeah, actually, I just remembered another bad loading story. It wasn't a gig, actually. It was a music video we were filming.
Oh.
So it was the music video that I filmed with Austin.
Okay.
For his Better as Enemies video. So we filmed that in like an old pipe factory.
Oh yeah.
Bagpipe factory that's not getting used as a bagpipe factory anymore in the Barrowlands, and it's now used as sort of like like artist studios and things like that. But so thing number one, parking there was a bit of a getting parking there like first thing in the morning, like 9 a.m. was a total nightmare. Couldn't find anywhere, and I had to. So there was that. The place where we were filming was like the first set. It was like the third floor, and just hiking like and no lift or anything because it's like the place is that old.
Yeah.
So it was just like dragging all of these things up the stairs. Our Austin has this disgustingly heavy valve amp that looks cool, and he wanted to use it in the video, so. It was painful. My arms were really sore after that day. Just like I woke up the next morning, I was like, my arms were wanting to fall off. And on top of that, so after we had finished loading everything in, I go to my car, and this wee guy comes up to me. He's like, "Oh, here, mate, is that your car?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Yeah, the road's closed because there's a market opening up here." And I was just like, "Oh, when's the market closing? I mean, it's illegal for your car to be here." And I'm like, "Well, cool. So what do you want me to do?" And he was like, "It's fine. You can get out if you go through this and that and whatever." And I basically had to break a bunch of traffic rules, drive over pavements. And things to get back onto the road again. Yeah. So in my tiny Mazda, and it was terrifying.
Yep.
I never want to do it again.
I had to do something similar to that. I had to park my car every single month. I had to park my car on Buchanan Street, which is a pedestrian-only zone in Glasgow. It's the busiest street in Glasgow, and I had to do that every Thursday, first Thursday of a month, and on a loading permit only. And I parked my car there for years, every month, and got away with it. I think I got a ticket twice because the loading permit was expired, but it wasn't my loading permit. It belonged to the venue, and they never updated it twice, and I got fined twice and had to get reimbursed by the venue. That was down at Sloan's.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That was an interesting... See, driving on Buchanan Street, that is an interesting experience, especially late night Thursday shopping after payday, and it's just chocker with people. You feel like it feels like Grand Theft Auto. You're just driving down the street, like dodging people. It's just so bizarre, and people just give you the weirdest looks, like, you're not supposed to be here. What are you doing here? So I think the moral of the story is, if you can find out as much as you can beforehand about the loading situation, the better,
Then do that.
Yeah.
So next thing we have here on the list is equipment. So, depending on the venue and depending on what they have available, what you're gonna need is gonna change. I don't know about you, but I'm of the mentality that I would like to use as much stuff as that the venue provides, if it's good, right? On the basis that it's good gear. I'd rather use as little of my own equipment as possible just to make my life easier, right? So if they have but if they have a PA system, and it's good, fine. This will depend for yourself. For me, my amp isn't that big a deal because it's not even that big. But if they have an amp, bass amp there, and it's pretty decent, I will just use that amp over my amp. And it's just little things that like that. It's just bring what you need, not what you want to bring. Don't bring your entire studio with you.
Yeah, I've made that mistake.
Just bring the most important things.
Sometimes I bring literally my studio with me. I'll bring a drum kit. I'll bring all my mics. I'll bring my recording interface, my laptop. I'm going to record the gig and just give myself all this work and hassle, and then not get anyone to help. So I'll have my I've done this. I've had my laptop and interface and all my mics and cables all sitting beside the drums while I'm playing, so that I can press record. I'm such an idiot. There was one time I played. There was a gig I was playing, and we were playing to backing tracks. I thought it would be a good idea to play it off Cubase. I don't know why. I just thought, let's bring a DAW to a gig. DAWs are notorious for just randomly freezing for no reason. But I brought it, set it up, and to be fair, the DAW performed excellently. It didn't crash once. I had all the songs preloaded and just ready to press play. And what happened, the sound guy forgot, even though I asked him, he forgot to turn off the drum monitor, the drum speaker, because I was using in-ears straight from Cubase. So this loud monitor was blasting, vibrating air at my laptop, and the hard disk in the laptop must have been vibrating from the sound, and all the tracks were skipping. It was like
fascinating.
That was my fault for bringing too much gear. That's basically
so the lesson I learned. There's a cautionary tale for you.
Stop bringing so much. Stop complicating your life. Keep it simple. Stupid.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Kiss principle. I basically just bring what you need, not what you want.
Yeah. I think
bare minimum.
for weddings, I have my own rig. I have a very specific rig that I bring. We don't.
Wedding bands are a little different.
It is different because you're not necessarily playing a venue that has any gear whatsoever. Because hotels don't usually have anything.
You could play anywhere. Sometimes you'll be playing like a tent.
Yes. So you need to rely on your own equipment. But if you're an originals band and you're playing venues, and they have a PA system set up and tuned to that room, then there's no point bringing your own. Occasionally I'll play some gigs in some venues in town, and it's like weddings. And if I know it's a venue, if I know of the venue and I know there's a PA there, I will phone ahead and say, is there going to be a sound guy on tonight? And is he going to be using the in-house PA, or do we need to bring our own? And 9 times out of 10 they'll go, oh yeah, the sound guy's going to be here. Just bring your mixer. So I'll do the mix for us, like on stage, and then the line out goes to the PA out there, or not at all. He just does the whole lot himself or whatever. But yeah, it's just finding out all that stuff beforehand. I think it's the most important thing.
So on the subject of sound guys, sound checking, and sound guys, these kind of go hand in hand. So sound checking is one of these things where I definitely learnt this the hard way, because I had no idea. I didn't know what sound checking was, and I was quite lucky that I had some very patient sound guys. You were just generally quite nice.
They were sound guys.
So
I'm sorry.
I guess they were. So the very first thing I want to say is just know what you want. Be really clear and precise with what you need. Don't mess about. Don't try and impress. I don't know if anybody's like this, but don't try and impress them with like, oh yes, I could do with like,
high
10
pass filter
more decibels and high pass filters, and can you put high pass filters on like all the drum mics? I don't know. Don't do that. Just be plain simple English. More please. A little less.
Having played with a few different bands in a few different genres, there's one I particularly see quite a lot in the sort of metal scene, guitarists that love to show off to other guitarists. So you'll be sitting there trying to sound check, and your guitarist starts flicking all his amps up to 10 and playing the fastest tapping solo you've ever heard, and there's like 4 other bands watching this, and this guy's going and
who cares?
It's like 1 2. What can you speak into the mic, please? This is really awkward. 1 2. I don't know what to say.
Yeah. So the whole mic checking thing, just make noise. 1 2 is fine. I tend to go for a 1 2 check.
Yeah.
Sometimes if I do feel particularly original, I'll maybe crack a joke or two. But it tends to be if you just do a 1 2 check, 1 2 check, there you go, it's done.
The reason why it's 1 2 check, and it's actually a valid reason.
Good.
1 is a very bassy sound, right? It's a fairly bassy sound. It's like 1, you're getting all that low mid, and 2 has all the sibilance. It's got that tinny sound. So you can cover quite a variety of frequencies on those 2 things. That's why they use 1 2. Check 1 2.
Yep.
Hey, all that. It's all about trying to minimize this horrible popping sound. Now, if I remove my pop shield and demonstrate what pop is, that will sound horrendous to people listening to this. Right, so that you want to get rid of that, and the way you do that is you use a high pass filter, or you filter out. A high pass filter basically it means that you filter out anything below a certain frequency. So for that kind of frequency, you're looking at filtering out sort of anywhere between sort of 150 to 50 hertz, just gone. Or I'll attenuate it. You don't take it all out, obviously, because some of your voice is at that frequency. And you can't really do that if your guitarist is doing a tapping solo.
On the subject of checking microphones, I've seen some really horrendous mic checks.
Stop cupping the mic, dumbass.
One of my pet peeves when it comes to checking microphones is when people start singing.
Right, okay.
I don't see the point.
Okay.
It depends on what it is. But you're gonna be singing anyway when you check with the whole band.
Yeah.
You don't need to, and I don't think singing actually. I don't know. I'm not a sound guy, but I think a 1-2 check is probably more efficient than singing that varies a lot in volume, and I don't know. So that was thing number one.
Yeah, I think from a sound guy's perspective, I probably wouldn't mind. If it's like really what I would hate is if they sang really softly and quiet and then on the gig they were like rah! That I do hate. Drummers are notorious for this. Can you give us a snare, please? And it's like tap,
ding,
tap,
ding,
tap.
Yeah.
Are you going to play any louder than that? No, mate, that's as loud as I play. All right, just keep going. Tap, tap. And then the gig comes and it's like, it's like Dave Grohl, like smacking the absolute, and all your channels are all redlining. Every time, every drummer.
Most cringe-worthy mic check I remember is, I don't know if you were there, it was a gig that we played, but there was a band that was playing there, and it was like RCS drama students that were also happened to be musical, God forbid. And they started one of the they all sang, which is even worse. Wow, Julian, you need to calm down. But one of them, because being drama students, one of them decided that to check their mic, they would recite their best Shakespeare monologue, and I wanted to throw a shoe at them. It was, I was just like,
cringing inside.
Yeah, my face cringed so hard it poked out the other end.
No.
So, we talked extensively about mic checks, but yeah, just in general, it tends to go in order, right? So, the sound guy will just do it by instrument. Usually starts with drums first.
Yeah.
And they'll do the whole kick and snare and then full drum kit, whatever, right? And then it'll be bass and then guitar and then all the other instruments. The most important thing you can do is, and I can be quite bad for this, but like, don't talk and don't noodle. If you really have to noodle, turn your guitar off.
Yeah.
Like turn the volume down, but just don't bother. Just stop.
Yeah.
If you felt like you needed to warm up in the sound check, you should have warmed up way beforehand.
Yeah.
You should have been doing that. When you were upstairs having a pint before you're going to gig. Get your pint and warm up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
you can drink and warm up at the same time. It's fine.
get a straw.
It's not a big. Get
a cap with the 2 beer cans in the straw.
Yeah, exactly.
What I would say to their sort of process of sound checking, so that the sound guy gets the most accurate, sort of sonic picture, play your sound check as if you are playing the gig. So
yeah.
Play that riff exactly how you would play it with the full band. Drummers, hit that kick drum and that snare drum exactly how you're going to hit it on the gig. Don't hit it 5 decibels under.
And guitarists and bass players tell them about all the effects that you're going to use, because they want to know that, and sound check each one individually.
Don't turn your amp up after you've started.
Yeah.
That is, I see that every single gig, honestly. Like, they can't hear themselves, so they turn their amp up, rather than ask the sound guy, can I get some more guitar, please, in my monitor? Because the guitar amp, when you turn the guitar amp up, what happens is there's a microphone in front of the cab, in front of your speaker. If you turn that up there, it turns it up everywhere. It turns it up in the PA, turns it up in the monitors, everywhere.
Yeah.
Just ask for it in your monitor. If you can't hear yourself, ask for it in your monitor. And what you do is you point to your guitar and then point up or down. So that's how you signal if you want something turned up or down. You point to the thing that you want and then go up or down. And the sound guy will be looking out for you to do that. Don't be an ass and turn your amp up, because it just ruins the sound out front. And then it gets to the point where the sound guy has to turn the guitars down so far because the on-stage volume is so loud, and then you can't hear the vocals, and it just mucks up the whole gig when guitarists turn their amp up. Happens every gig. See it so often. So little thing to remember.
Yeah, which leads us, again, expertly on to the next thing, which is you've turned your guitar amp up, and now the sound guy is really annoyed, and he is now being a jerk, and you're like, why is he being a jerk? It's very rarely the case, and I've thought about this before. Sound guys, it's kind of sad that sound engineers have this sort of reputation of being really, really grumpy, kind of like the same way that bass players have the reputation that they can't actually play their own instrument, which makes me sad. But sound guys are fine.
Yeah,
they are normal people. It tends to be that musicians, sometimes when they have no idea, are just really annoying people to work with. It's not that they're being the jerk; it's that you're probably being the jerk.
Yeah,
and it's little things. It's little things that people don't realize that you should be doing. Like talking to them. Because they're human. They're humans too. So talking to them is a really it's like a really nice, polite thing to do. So talk to them, get to know them, learn their name, ask them about things. Talk to them about the gig, and already if you do that, just a little bit, just a tiny little bit of small talk, your sound check experience 10 times better.
Yeah.
And acknowledge them at the end of the gig, at the end of the night, every single time.
Yeah, totally.
Because it's so many times that I can imagine there's probably loads of gigs where they never get a mention, and they're just sort of like, imagine that. Like, you've put in all this work into making all these bands sound amazing, and you've worked your ass off, and like you've been there the same amount of time that the band has been there, probably longer.
Yeah.
And to not even get one bit of acknowledgement, that sucks. That really, that would sting. It would hurt.
Yep.
So it's things like that. There was only one time where I've met one sound guy who was a literal jerk.
Yeah.
And I don't think he does that gig anymore. So there you go.
Yeah. I can only think of two sound guys that I've ever experienced that were just horrible human beings. And I think we are talking about one of the same ones. And I can remember the gig. We've done the gig twice, and we cooperated. We were extremely professional. I've played up to probably about 1,000 gigs, and I know gig etiquette, and I know how to behave, and we were all behaving very well. And I'm from a musician's perspective and a sound engineer's perspective, and this guy was being a condescending arse. Just absolute, just out of order, like the way he was treating us. And it's quite rare. I've only experienced that maybe twice in my life with two separate people.
So there you go. It's
more likely to be you than the sound guy,
Exactly. So it's really important. It's a really important thing to acknowledge and to sort of be aware of. And in terms of dealing with other people, I'm assuming there's going to be unless you're on a tour by yourself and you're playing like 2 hour gigs, in which case that's incredible that you have enough material to do 2 hours already. Nice one. But there's going to be other bands there, so there's lots of important things that you need to sort of get straight with other bands. The big one for me is equipment. What you're going to be sharing, you know, who's bringing what. So I think you and I probably have slightly different opinions on this, in that for me personally, sharing some of my things isn't that big a deal for me. Sharing my amp isn't a big deal because it's not a valve amp. It's not gonna blow or anything like that if somebody uses it the wrong way or whatever. And yeah, just generally, I don't even care if somebody was to kick it because it wouldn't make a difference.
Yeah, it's a tank.
You know, it's a total beast. But with you, I know you have some reservations when it comes to your drum kit.
Oh yeah, I mean, I would allow them to use my drum kit, just not my cymbals, because people crack cymbals. My cymbals are worth like over £2,000. You know, I've spent a lot of money on those cymbals over the last 10 years. I wouldn't want someone smashing them to bits.
Yeah, if someone's gonna crack a cymbal, it's gonna be you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah. Rather than
I use my kit in the studio. I record all my bands with that kit. I don't have a problem with people playing that kit whatsoever. I mean, I would have a problem people using my in-ear monitors because that's manky.
That is manky. I would have a problem with that too.
I don't know what else I have that.
What about mics?
Depends what mic it is. If it's just an SM58 or SM57, yeah, go for it. I don't care. You can literally drop it and it's fine. If it's my £1,000 condenser microphone, no. I would obviously not.
Get to.
But and borrowing gear, like if someone's like, "Oh, can I borrow your drum kit for this gig?" and I'm not going to be at the gig, then I'll say no, because I like to be there to set it up and make sure that it's being treated fairly and well and not thrown around. Or if someone's like, "Oh, can I rent or hire your PA and take it out?" Nah, because I need that PA for stuff. If someone breaks it and I need it the next day, I'm stuffed. I would rather just say, give me £50 extra and I'll mix your gig. I'll take the PA, I'll set it up, and I'll mix your gig for you. I'd rather do that.
It's only been like 1 or 2 times.
Unless it's someone I know.
I've had somebody
really
ask.
Well.
Yeah. It depends. Yeah, totally. It depends on the instrument as well. I've had people asking if they can borrow my double bass, and to be fair, I don't know. Double basses are weird because like they're so tanky and so fragile at the same time.
Yeah,
like they can take a lot of crap. Like my bass has gone through a lot. You know, I've played it out in the rain and things, and it still works absolutely fine. But like the slightest weird knock, could like change everything. So I guess in terms of that, you know, I guess it's up to you. Just think about. It depends on a bunch of different things. It's up to your own discretion, but don't feel obliged that you need to. If somebody asks for something, you need to give it to them. Yeah. Saying no is an okay thing to say as well. And if they go, I thought you were better than that, then just tell them to grow up, you know.
My keyboard, on the other hand, I would say in the past, because I used to play keyboard in bands and stuff, and nah, don't touch my keyboard. It's like a £2,000 keyboard. I don't.
Keyboards are expensive.
I don't like. You going up and playing chopsticks is not gonna like. I've had people just randomly walk up on stage and think, "Oh, there's a keyboard. I can play keyboard, and then I'm just gonna go and play that keyboard." No, you're not gonna go and play that keyboard. I've also had to fend off kids. Kids, watch out for kids, especially if you're in a wedding band. If there's kids about, always have an eye on the stage. If you're at the buffet or you're at the toilet, keep an eye on the stage, because the amount of times I've seen out of control kids where their parents are drunk somewhere and they just don't keep hold of their kids, and the kids are up on stage, playing the £2,000 Les Paul and behind the £3,000 drum kit and smashing it to bits. There was one gig we did. In fact, it might have been the Night We Were Loading gig in Edinburgh. There was some French kids up on the stage, and of course we couldn't tell. They didn't speak English, so we were like, "Go away!" And they were like, "No." So they kind of knew the sentiment, but they were playing. They were trying to touch Chris's guitar, I think, and press his pedal boards and stuff, and they were up at my drum kit with the sticks in hand, smashing my hi-hats. Like they're like 6 years old, 7 years old, and mum and dad are just sitting in the stalls watching, going ha 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 ha, and we're like, "Can you not do that, please? Control your brats." So they spoke English, and we're like, "Hi there, can you please remove your offspring from our stage, please? Thank you very much, and keep them off the stage, kindly."
Oh dear.
Yeah, I would just say that if you're doing weddings, just keep an eye on your gear, because you don't know the amount of times I've come back to my kit after being in another room, like a green room, and my sticks are sticky, and I'm like,
Ugh.
who's been eating cake? Who's been up at my drum kit and playing with my sticks? I know, I can tell. You see little crumbs and stains and stuff. There's like kids running around with bits of cake. I'm like, yeah,
gross.
Yeah, it's
gross.
It is gross. Yeah.
So, and then touching back on like other things like loading, talk to the other bands about when you're loading in. If you know loading times for them, tell them.
Yep.
And sound check times. It's very important that you tell them these kind of things. And then when they turn up late, you can get angry at don't get angry at anybody. You shouldn't be getting angry.
What about promoters? So when the promoter phones up, I think we've talked about this before. When the inevitable phone call from that really terrible promotion company.
Shady.
You're bringing the drum kit tonight, aren't you?
No.
What? No, I'm assuming the venue has a drum kit. No, did no one tell you? You're the headline band. That means all the bands have to use your gear. I thought you knew that. And then there's 6 bands that have to use all your gear without your consent. I've had that happen to me at least 3 times, and going around the Glasgow scene in various bands. So like again, it all goes back to that find out beforehand concept.
Yep.
Rather than, we've got this band and that band are not bringing any gear because they thought you were bringing your gear.
Yeah. It's because they don't want to spend any money on hiring
Precisely
anything, even though it's not going to cost them really that much in the grand scheme of things. They just want to save as much as possible. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, and then this kind of last point to touch on is jobs. I'm not going to get a job because music isn't panning out for you. And it's not going where you're. So if the setup is really terrible, get yourself down to the job centre and just get a job. No. So I mean, like, delegate jobs for people in the band. And it's little things like, ask your drummer, for example, if he needs a hand to set up. Sometimes they'll say yes. Sometimes with Gavin, you'll just be like, no, because he's got it down to an absolute art. And I've
what
found
I do like
that
is
when
people get my hard cases out. I like that. Set my hard cases out so I can just go plop, 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 and then put all the lids on and then go.
That's it.
Don't touch my cymbal stands because they're set at specific heights for the toms and stuff, and people love to undo the little butterfly clips and then they fully what do you call it?
Extend them.
Yeah, fully extend them or fully bring them down, and then I have lost my settings for my tom height. So the next gig, I have to spend an extra 5-10 minutes trying to get the tom height back to where it was.
Yeah.
That's why I specifically say to people, just don't touch that, please, because it just
let them do it.
It's going to add on 10 minutes.
Exactly. So if you, yeah, totally. Like don't feel guilty about things like that. Just give everybody in the band like little specific jobs. Like, so for example, in my wedding band, I am in charge, although we're changing our light setup to make it a little easier, but I'm in charge of setting up lights. So I just clip lights onto things and make sure they're all connected together, and that's all running. And then that's my job.
That's
great.
Your job,
and then somebody else's job is to
plug in.
Somebody else's job will be sorry.
Plug in mics or something.
Yeah, plug in mics and whatever.
PA monitor.
PA monitor. Yeah, setting up the PA, things like that.
For the
Everybody has a very.
For the YouTube people, you can see if you've been asked to wrap up cables. Now, I'm a sound engineer, so this is like a meme. Do not wrap them like that. So it's hand and then over your arm thing. You know, it's hard to explain in a podcast. How do you explain that?
I've got an XLR here.
Yeah,
that I'm willing to sacrifice. Wait, no, that one is too long. Let me find another one that's a little shorter.
It's like wrapping it around your hand and then below your elbow thing, and there's that sort of arm movement.
Are you ready?
Right, we'll demonstrate it on YouTube.
Chills?
Yeah,
this thing.
That disgusting abomination of a thing.
I'm not very good at it, but is it not?
Yeah, it's twist and loop.
This is a awful cable to deal with, but other cables are generally other cables are available.
The reason why
are generally fine.
The reason why you're not supposed to do that is because it can break the cable. So when you wrap it round your arm like that horrible way that we just demonstrated, what happens is the little cables in the inside snap and break and bend, and then the next time you plug your mic cable in, you get no signal, or it keeps popping in and out.
No!
It's so common.
Yeah.
And it costs like 15-20 quid each time you want to buy a new cable. And if you can't solder, you need to go and get someone to repair it for you, or just buy a new one. Or you can just wrap it up properly and get cable, but not cable ties. Do not get this. This is something I really hate about. I don't understand. All live sound engineers do this. They use tape, sticky tape, like electrical tape, to wrap up cables. I'm like, what a waste! Because you've got at the end of a gig, or when you're packing up a gig, or setting up for a gig, you've just got tape everywhere because you have to undo the tape, and then. I'm like, how much tape do you have to buy?
And it's usually really cheap tape as well, and just sort of disintegrates as soon as you peel it off.
Just buy a cable, a Velcro cable tie.
Like a Velcro, yeah.
Strap it to your cable and it's there forever. You can get really, really long ones for really long cables, and you can get like little short ones like I have. And
you can even get ones which are really cool, which is just like, it basically looks like a hair tie.
Yeah, I've seen them. Yeah. The reason why is because if you're wrapping up cables nice and delicately and you put them in a nice little box and then put them in your car, 100% when you take those cables back out again, it will just be a spaghetti mess. And don't use the cables to tie themselves. Don't use the ends of the cables and tie a knot with the oh my god, I've seen that. and then they're like, oh, this cable's not working, this, but I knew I only had that for 2 weeks. Well, yeah. Stop tying the cable with the cable. Anyway. Wee jobs. Very, very good things to sort of have in mind. This podcast is increasing my stress level. I don't like it.
Oh, just you wait. The next one's probably going to make you even more stressed, because we're going to be talking about actually, performing. The most stressful part of the gig.
Not for me, mate.
Or fun. It depends. But yeah, just a little bit, just to touch, just to tag on to that. A really useful thing that I like to do, or that I've been doing with my wedding band, is we have set a wee goal for setup time. So 30 minutes, something like that.
Yeah.
And it's going to sound really nerdy, but we're actually planning on, once studios set up properly, big, studios open up, rehearsal spaces open up properly, bringing in the PA that we have and everything, and just timing,
Okay.
how long it takes us to set it up, and then I know, but it's just something that
I wonder how that would fly in my wedding band. Let's meet up for a load-in practice. I think I'd get shouted at. No, go away.
I suppose the thing is, I don't know about what your setup's like, but our setup is very much it's very minimal now. It's getting to the point where I'm even thinking about ditching, once I've got a bit of cash, ditching my bass amp altogether and just going in with a pedal board.
Yeah.
Bang, straight into PA, sorted.
Yeah. Just take them on.
In-ear monitors.
Yep.
Yeah. Saves your hearing too.
We have a goal, like if the gig's finished at 12 and we're in the van ready to drive home for 1, it's been a good loadout. It takes an hour for us. An hour at either end. If we're really, really going fast, 40 minutes is real speed. We've got quite a complicated setup though. Like it always has been. It's slightly simpler now because we've got the digital iPad mixer carry on. But we've got like 2 big speakers for the PA and then the 2 bass bins underneath, and then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 monitors, and 4 people are on in-ear monitors, and we've got guitar amps and drum kits and 2 keyboards and all the mixers, and it's just it's a huge setup, and saxophones and all sorts. But 40 minutes for us is like record time, like insane fast. There was one gig where they're talking about leaving 15 minutes. Well, that wouldn't have helped us this gig. I turned up at a gig and I arrived at the usual time, which was 6:30 for an 8 o'clock start, an 8 o'clock first dance. And of course, this wedding was running on time because the ones you are late for are always the ones that are running on time. So I get there at 6:30 and no one's there. And I'm like, okay, that should be fine. I mean, usually they're like 5 minutes, be fine. So I started loading my stuff in and it's like 20 to 7, nobody there. 7:15, no one there. 10 to 7, I've set up the full drum kit by like 7. I'm like, oh, where are they? So I'm like texting and trying to find out. And then the groom comes up and goes, all right, how you doing? Are you guys just loading in just now? I'm like, well, I'm here, but no one else is here. It's a 6-piece band. All right, where are they? Not sure. I'm just about to phone them. So I phoned them. They were slightly behind me. They were like 5 minutes later than me. I got into the town and parked fine. 5 minutes after I arrived, a parade comes through the town and blocks the entire road. I got in just in the nick of time, and they were stuck behind a parade for like an hour.
What was it like?
I can't remember. I don't know where. I can't remember gigs. I'm terrible. But I think it was a parade, and they were stuck for about an hour. They got in at about 7:30.
Oh no!
And we set up like grease lightning. It was the fastest setup I've ever seen. We were like 2 bass spins in each hand, just like running in the door. It was glorious to behold. And we were ready for like 8:05. I was like, well done. That was like excellent. But yeah, leave a little bit beforehand in case a parade comes through the town that you're going to be playing in. Moral of the story. So, yeah, you were saying next week we're going to talk about sort of the next part
Yeah.
of the gig, the
It
actual
seems
the
natural.
actual gig.
The actual gig. So we'll cover things like how to talk to the audience. I feel like I feel like I talk about how to talk to whatever, but it's something that I think some musicians are really bad at, or they don't realize.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
So how to talk to the audience. You know. What happens if something catastrophic happens during the set? You know, like string breaks or something.
Amp failure.
You know, not that I've had that problem because I play bass and bass strings like never break.
Yeah.
So yeah. This was we got a request to do more live gig stuff. So whoever requested that, all these episodes are for you.
Yep. So I think that's all we've got to say on setup. I think the moral of the story to take away from this is just make sure that all these little details are thought about in advance, and don't try and leave it to chance and find out on the day, because you might be in for a big surprise when you think something is a given, like a drum kit at the venue or a PA, and then you turn up and it isn't there, and you should have known this beforehand. Just don't leave these things to chance. Just, you know.
Exactly.
So, cool. So next week, talking about actual gig stuff and how to do the on-stage bit of your performance. So until then, I hope you're all doing well, and if you need to send us a wee message, maybe you want to suggest an episode topic or whatever, you can reach us at www.levelupyourband.com, and we are Level Up Your Band on Instagram and Facebook. And as usual, please like, share, subscribe to YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all the things, all the doodads. Share it to your pals. Tell everyone. Write news articles. Call the president.
Yeah.
Just everything. Just do all the things.
All the presidents.
Every president. Yeah.
Every president. Every prime minister.
Yeah.
Every dictator.
Every dictator.
Kim Jong-un needs to know.
He needs to know how to level up his band. Right.
His aesthetic is down to a T, though.
Can you imagine like a Kim Jong-un band just all dressed up like that? That'd be pretty fly. What kind of music would that be?
Gulag core. I don't know.
Oh, right, we're done. Right. See you all next week. Say bye.
Bye.